Sophie Hardy and the Battle of the Myriad by M.R. Dale, narrated by Leona Hall. Prologue, Monita. It had been about 7 days since Monita's dad had left, and somehow she had managed to struggle through life in her 2-bedroomed terrace house all by herself since. Now, though, she was running out of food and only had limited experience of how to go to the shops and what to buy. Most normal children of Monita's age would be able to find their way or order using their internet implant and at least buy some sweets or chocolate to keep the hunger at bay, but Monita was no ordinary child. In fact, she wasn't a child anymore. She had quickly become a young woman, but not through choice. Having eaten everything that was in the fridge and the cupboards and not really knowing how to cook anything that was in the freezer, there was next to nothing left. If Monita didn't venture out soon, she was going to start to get hungry. But the outside world was a scary place. The only times Monita had been out was with her dad, when he could be bothered. Most of Monita's recent life, Dad had moped around the house complaining that he had to stay at home and look after a baby, and tell Monita about how her mum loved her but wasn't coming back. It had all been very confusing for Monita. To cap it all off, just a few days ago, he finally had enough and just left Monita to fend for herself. He believed that she was now old enough to look after herself, and Monita didn't know any better, so put up no sort of an argument when he packed his bags, put on his coat, and left. Mulling around the living room, not knowing what to do with herself, Monita's hunger was starting to get the better of her, and she felt her stomach rumble aggressively once more. On the mantelpiece opposite her sat the only photo that her and her dad had had taken together since Monita had grown up. The photo meant the world to her, even though it was just her and her dad being a bit silly. After she looked in the final kitchen cupboard to discover it was bare, she sat down at the table and put her head in her hands. Rolling the sleeves up from one of her dad's shirts that she decided she wanted to wear to remind herself that Dad was out there, somewhere, she had arrived at a crossroads, but she immediately knew which path she had to take. Determined but nervous, she stood up and made for the door. She put a pair of her dad's shoes on and grabbed some money that she had found a few days ago down the back of the settee. Turning the handle and braving what might lie ahead, she was startled to be greeted by a man standing in her doorway. He was smartly dressed, and she recognised his face from being on television for one reason or another. Behind a bald head and round black glasses, Monita thought she could see a kind face. If she was honest, it was the first face she had seen in a week, and, after that much time alone, any face would have been friendly. "Hungry?" the man asked, offering a shopping bag full of food. Monita didn't speak, she just nodded. "Can I come in?" the man asked, sympathetically looking at Monita sideways, seeing that she was struggling. Monita nodded, seeing no harm in letting the man into the house if he was going to feed her. The man walked past her, put the shopping on the kitchen table, and sat down on Monita's settee. "Monita, I can do more than feed you," the man said as Monita walked back into the house. "Sit down." Not wanting to waste any more time being hungry, Monita took some grapes from the top of the bag and started eating them. After she had cut them in half, that was what Dad always did, but she didn't want to sit down. She had been doing that all week. It didn't occur to her that the man knew her name without her telling him. She just wanted to eat. "Your father has left you, yes?" the man asked Monita. Monita again just nodded and continued to chew on the grapes, filling the hole her stomach had been longing to be filled. "Says you're old enough to look after yourself?" the man asked. Monita ate and nodded some more. "If you want, I can give you a life, one where you can live it to the fullest and do some good," the man continued. "Not only that, though, but I can also offer you a home and family that you no longer have, and food and nourishment which you desperately need. Would you like that, Monita?" Finishing the grapes, Monita had had her interest piqued by the offer of food and family. She had lived on her own for a week, and that was more than enough. She needed help. As a result, Monita nodded once again. "Good, I'm glad. What I have planned will take years, but no time at all. Also, we must hurry, because we do not have as long as I would have hoped." Monita was confused by this, but was still more drawn to the promise of food and family than complicated phrases that she didn't understand, so she just nodded again. There was an awkward silence as the man waited for Monita to say something. Growing tired of waiting, the man prompted Monita for a response by looking at her with eyebrows raised. Monita thought about what she would like to say, but all she could think of to ask her saviour was, "Who are you?" The man stood up, straightened his glasses, and said, "My name is Alton King, and you, Monita, are about to become one of the founding members of Shadow. You will find and defeat the mythical creatures who are responsible for so much damage, upset and heartbreak in this world. In a strange way, they're even responsible for your dad leaving. Wouldn't you like to get your own back, Monita? Monita looked unimpressed, as nothing that the man had said had made any sense to her. However, he had promised to get her out of this mess, and that alone was enough to convince Monita that she could trust him. The Sophie Hardy saga was written and produced by M.R. Dale and narrated and produced by Leona Hall. If you enjoyed it and would like to continue to follow the adventures of Sophie and her friends in coming episodes, then please subscribe through one of the many podcast providers out there. The links for each of these can be found on our website. If you require more information, visit our many social media channels, or if you would like to purchase a copy of the book, then be sure to check out our website, www.sophiehardysaga.com. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy.